Season's greetings, gastronauts. This is Keef Cooks. I'm Keef, and today I'm going to do a vegetarian Christmas main thing. I'm going to make a pastry wreath filled with a savoury caramelised onion and mushroom filling topped with sprouts and parsnips, and a dipping sauce of blue cheese and cranberry, and it's going to be magnificent. Back at the end of November, I put out a call on my YouTube community tab asking for suggestions for Christmas things, and I got some very good ones, and this was one of them. Jackie Moore wanted a wreath type thing with or without pastry, and vegan. Well, I'm not actually doing vegan, but you could make the pastry vegan by using oil instead of margarine or butter, and probably avoiding the cheese. And also Nikki Kerfoot, who's happy to have a vegetarian thing. If you enjoy this video, give it a like, share, subscribe, etc. And let's get on with it. First job is to caramelise the onions, because they will take a lot longer than you think. They'll take at least an hour. So I've got a half kilo of onions here, and I'm going to top and tail them, chop them in half, and peel them. Then they need to be finely sliced. I'm using the food processor for that. So there we go, a load of sliced onion. Now we need to get over to the stove and start caramelising them. So I've got a cast iron casserole dish. I'm just going to heat up some oil in that, and then add the sliced onion and stir it well to get it all completely coated. And on very low heat, put a lid on. Just let that cook, give it a stir every 5 minutes or so, make sure it's not sticking. You want to do this really low and slow. It will end up brown and translucent, but you don't want it to end up black and crispy. Now we need to deal with the mushrooms. So first of all, I've got a few dried porcini mushrooms, which need to be rehydrated in boiling water for about 30 minutes. So I'll do that. They're very tasty and savoury, and that's what we're looking for. Now I've got 250 grams of chestnut mushrooms and 200 grams of baby button mushrooms, and they're both pretty clean, so just brush off any soil that you come across. Then we put the grated plate on the food processor and grate them. Or you could spend a couple of hours chopping them into small bits. I'm not going to. So I've grated all my mushrooms, and they look a little bit weird, but they will be fine. And now we need to cook them down as you would if you were making a mushroom duxelle for a beef Wellington. So basically, there's a ton of water in mushrooms, and we don't want it. We want it to go away. Otherwise it'll make our pastry soggy. So the onions are starting to caramelise a little bit. I'll shift them onto the lowest possible burner. I'll put a frying pan on this one and add the mushrooms. No oil or anything. You know, once they start to heat up, the liquid will start to come out of them, and then we're okay. Now the porcini mushrooms have had a good old soak, so I'm just going to chop those down small. I won't put them in the food processor because they'll get lost. I'll add those in with the other mushrooms, and I will throw in their liquid because I'm pretty sure that'll be quite tasty. Now the mushrooms are more or less done. You see, when I whiz them round and you know, get some space on the bottom of the pan, there's no liquid coming out of them, so that means, well, there's no liquid left, so we can turn that off and set it aside. Now the caramelised onions are getting there as well. They've had 50 minutes, so we'll just keep an eye on them. They're looking good, but they do need to get a bit more golden. Now I'm going to make my pastry. I'm just doing short crust pastry because I'm not a big fan of flaky. I really am not. Also, it takes a lot of time. So I've got 400 grams of plain all-purpose flour, and I've got 200 grams of baking block, which in the olden days would be called margarine. Now that's a dirty word, so we're not calling it that, and they're not either. It's a blend of vegetable oils, and none of them hydrogenated, which is the nasty thing that nobody likes. So 200 grams of that. I'm going to, apologies for using all the machines in the house, but I'm going to grate the food processor. That didn't work too well. In fact, that was a complete waste of time. Chop it into little bits. Right, so I've got my flour and a teaspoon of salt, And we'll just mixy that. And then we want to add the margarine in little bits so that we can rub it in with our fingertips till we get a mixture that looks like coarse sand. Right, that was a bit of a nightmare, but anyway, there's our crummy flour and fat, and now we just need to add enough water to make it come together in a ball, but not too much. Tricky that. Little bit. Another little bit. I reckon that's enough. So that was not quite a cup, it was probably 200 ml, 0.8 of a cup. Honestly, how do you go on with cups and not using scales? It drives me mad. So cover that, set it aside until we're ready for it. Right, caramelised onions are done, and we'll finish off the filling. I want to mix these together and then taste it. And I want to get a real umami, savoury flavour going through this. Needs salt, a teaspoon of yeast extract or Marmite, same kind of thing, and some pepper. That's lush, that is really, really nice. That needs to be properly cooked before we put it in the pastry. Meanwhile, we'll prep the sprouts and the parsnips. Proper Christmas dinner. For your sprouts, put them in cold water and then peel off the outer leaves. Trim the bottom off, halve them or slice them if they're bigger. Now, a couple of parsnips, top and tail them, peel them and slice them. And actually I think that one is plenty, so I'll put this one back. Okay, time to assemble the wreath, and I've got to say I'm completely winging it from here. So I've got a springform cake tin, and that is 23 centimetres, 9-inch diameter, and then I've got a steel ring, 10 centimetres, 4 inches diameter, and that's like a placeholder for the hole in the middle. And then also I've got this little ramekin into which I will put the cheese sauce at the end, and that'll go in there and look beautiful. That is the theory. So I want to line this with greaseproof paper first of all. I'll put some dabs of butter in the bottom, and that'll help the paper to stick. Now I'm going to make it as like a sausage roll basically, so I'll need to know how long it has to be, because I'm going to make it outside the tin and then roll it around inside and join it up somehow. So I've got this bit of string in the middle. That is how long the roll needs to be. Okay, flour on the worktop. Grab your dough. Wants to be about 3 or 4 millimeters thick. The quarter of an inch, less than a quarter of an inch. So I'll straighten up the edges. Okay, that will do. I'll spoon in the mushroom and onion filling. We'll try to get it nice and even. Then we'll do a row of sprouts and parsnips. Actually, I think I'll stand the parsnips up, and that'll give us more height, basically. And I've managed to get some fresh cranberries at the shop today, so I'll stick some of those in as well. Now I'll just moisten the top edge of the pastry, and then we'll roll it up from the bottom. And this would be easier if I had some plastic film under it or some paper, but I haven't. All right, it's all going a bit Pete Tong, as we say in the UK, which is rhyming slang for wrong. But it's fine as long as you don't x-ray it. Right, I've got no idea how I'm going to get that into there. Okay, I've got my beautiful kitchen assistant.
He's desperate.
Well, you normally say, yeah, bugger yours, it's your show, you do it. Right, yeah. What about
if I get a dinner plate? You slide it onto that. Slide it
No,
into
I
there.
think if I form this into, yeah, sort of like that. If I form it into a circle first, into a donut, then we put or maybe a pizza tray on top of it.
How about if we take the base out of that with the semolina on it, and if I hold the base here, you can bring it over onto there.
No, just put it there and then I can kind of feed it on.
Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, yeah.
So my brilliant idea of measuring a bit of string. Oh, that's fine. Okay. Thank you.
Covered in flour now, you know that, don't
So
you?
am I.
I know, but you're the chef. Oh, that's going to be beautiful. Oh, and an extra bit. It's Cook's nips, that.
Yeah, you can have it. I've rolled out a bit of pastry to cover up this gap. I'll just wet that and then place it over and sort of rub it on. Alright, we're just about ready to put this in the oven. So I need to glaze it with beaten egg. And I'll paint the wreath with it. Now you want your oven heating to 180 degrees Celsius if it's a fan oven or conventional. That's 200 for a conventional one, and that's gas 6. So remember that we separated the side of this from the base. So just to be sure that I don't do something stupid like that and drop it and put it on this baking sheet. And I'm putting the steel ring in the middle. I'm not sure if I need to do this, but I don't want the middle to encroach on the middle. Yeah, I know what I mean. We'll give that 15 minutes and then I'm going to remove the side of the tin and that so it becomes freestanding. I'll give it extra glaze around the edge if it needs it. I think overall it'll need probably 35 minutes. Okay, that's 15 minutes, so let's sort of partly unravel it, or unwrap it. Yeah! And then we'll just add glaze to the sides, so they get nice and golden, and the inside as well. And we'll give the top another coat, why not? Okay, now I'm going to do the cheese dipping sauce, which technically isn't a sauce, it's just melted cheese. Aha! Originally, I was going to just plonk a whole camembert in the middle, and then I thought, well, it'll run everywhere, and it's actually too big. Anyway, suitable for vegetarians, and also I've got a bit of Stilton, also suitable for vegetarians. So I don't know how long all the supermarkets have sneakily been using vegetarian rennet for their cheeses, but I've never noticed, so must be alright. Anyway, ooh, that's right. Well, it's cheese. We'll chuck it in the ramekin. I've also got a few cranberries bubbling away in boiling water for a few minutes just to soften them. So there's the camembert with some Stilton on the top, and this is a sprig of fresh, getting all French there, fresh rosemary. And then we'll just give this a few blasts in the microwave until it's melted. I mean, you know, cheese, not the tree. Okay, time's up. Let's have a look. Split in places, but otherwise, it's all right. The idea of putting the tree of rosemary into the microwave was a bad one because it just collapsed all over the place. But I've got a fresh one. So let's stick that one in. Oh, that's nice. Oh, yeah. Okay, I've also got some slices of orange. But orange and cranberry. And now it's avocado. And now it's taste test time with Mrs. Keef Cooks. Huzzah! Apparently that's an avocado. This is venison.
No, it isn't.
It will be.
Don't you use language like that?
She's deaf. Okay, all right.
Crushed. It's supposed to be a vegetarian feast. That's why I could bring it up. Oh dear. We've shocked the avocado. Absolutely destroyed the reindeer. Look, he's shaking.
I'll behave.
Look. Don't you listen to him.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Cherry pie.
You're for you.
Massive portion for me.
Ah. You've been doing cook snips again?
No?
No. Oh yeah, it's mushrooms, isn't it? I was just thinking it looks just like mincemeat. It's like, hang on, it's a bit of change of plan.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to do that because I don't like that idea of veggie stuff having to look like meaty stuff, but it just turned out that way. Got some goop.
Yes, please. I thought you were going to do something that you could sort of slice up and dip
What?
in the cheese. I thought it was going to be finger food.
It might be tomorrow. I think it will set pretty solid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my first impression was possibly, I don't usually want much salt, but I thought possibly needs a bit of salt, but it definitely doesn't because of course
Cheese.
the cheese is very salty, so it just needs a teeny bit of cheese. Really, really pretty. And it tastes good. There's a combo.
What more do you want?
And just guidance.
Chips.
Is this is this eating ornamentation?
Well, if you like, I wouldn't eat the peel.
No, I've got no plans in that direction. So has it been baked with the fruit on?
No. Merry Christmas. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
What he said.
Whack.
Oh, his antler's fallen off.
Want me?
He's having a bad day.